8-3. Did that just happen? What is up, everybody? It is your local Ottawa fan, and I am here today to talk to you about the 8-3 victory, complete demolition of the Minnesota Frost, the Ottawa Charge. Where's this team been all season? Oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin. 8 goals. 8 goals is where to begin. The Ottawa Charge, the 2024-25, and you really need to precise this 2024-25. These Ottawa Charge, this Ottawa Charge team put 8 goals in the back of the net in a single game. That isn't a team record. That is a league record all time. No team ever has played a game and scored 8. Well, let me go 8 times. Do you get that? Do you get the monumentality of 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goals. Going into this game, the Ottawa Charge had not scored 4 goals in a game all season. They did that in the second period alone. We completely worked on it. So, by the way, this game stood as just the second time that a team won by 5 goals and held a 6-goal lead at any point in the game. The other one, the Toronto Scepters, at the time PWHL Toronto, they held a 6-0 lead over New York, and what was ultimately a 4-goal win. So in some way, you could say that this is the most impressive victory, being that we led by 6 and won by 5. New York, they won a game 5-0. They never even got a 6th goal, because 6 goals has only ever happened twice. The other time we were the victims of it in an actually much closer game that was a bit more back and forth. It was 6-3, and it stayed kind of close until the third period got away from us last season. 7 goals was unprecedented. Again, 7 goals. Let me just look at the 7 goals. 7 goals. 7. Do you see? Can you read my lips? Can you? 7 goals was unprecedented. We scored 8. We scored 8 goals. This team that going into this game, our goals per game was below 2. Less than. That is beyond disgusting. That is beyond bad. That is like, we were looking to be the league's worst scoring team, potentially in history. Well, we've just put a history-making goal-scoring game. This game alone has elevated our goals per game average to above 2.5. This game alone has put it above 2.5. That rounds up to 3 goals. Like before, we were rounding up to 2 goals. And now, like, it was almost a whole goal. That it was like 8 goals. This was game 16, and they scored 8 goals. 8 goals in game 16. That is like a goal for every other game. Like, what more do you want me to say? This is what we've been asking for. And I think that okay, I gotta level with you. I'm really excited, but I'm also like cautiously optimistic, because going into the international break, what was everybody saying? Okay, Ottawa needs a big reset. They need to take a break, and I think all of us were thinking like, hey, they need to get back from the break and score goals. Like, they better come back and score like 8 goals in a game, you know, so something like that. Except they came back and they scored 8 goals in a game. Like, that was like the wildest. You would say that as a joke. You would say that as a wildest fantasy joke. Like, oh yeah, I hope they come back and you score 8 goals in a game. They did that though. They actually went and played a professional women's hockey league game. And they scored 8 times. But now we gotta see, is this fool's goal? Duh. Because it would really suck if this is like just, they can't score, they can't score, they can't score. They scored 8 goals, they can't score, they can't score, they can't score. We don't want that. And I'm not saying they need to score 8 goals every single game for the rest of the season. That's absurd. Of course, I don't expect that. Nobody expects that. That is beyond absurd. But what isn't beyond absurd is saying, okay, this is the kind of game we needed. This is the kind of game to exercise your demons, to finally get some scoring, and to get some of the players that you want to see scoring. Some players that have been scoring, just get their name on that scoreboard, sometimes more than once. We got, Hughes scored, McMahon scored, Vanisova scored, Jenner scored, Bach scored. 5 players scored goals. I don't even know how many players scored assists. I eventually lost track of like all the players who were getting assists, because that was the kind of game this was. I lost track of the score sheet eventually. I was like, I can't tell you every single player that got an assist, because like, then I'm listing half the team, it feels like. We play again on the 16th. Just 3 days later. We got Friday off, Saturday off. Sunday, we play a game. Takeover tour as the home team against Toronto in Edmonton. And it'll be interesting to see the fan divide, or if it's just going to be just generally cheering for teams. I think Edmonton is a place where we could get a lot of fans. You know, Edmonton fans, aren't you sick and tired of the Leafs fans telling you that Matthews is better, or acting like he is, pretending like he is? You're tired of that. So why would you cheer for the other Toronto team? You don't need that. Come to us. You want to cheer for a Canadian team? We're right here. We're right here for you. Come on, cheer for Ottawa, Edmonton, in fact, every city in Canada. Just hear my plea. Aren't you so sick of the Leafs and the Habs? Hearing everything about the Leafs and the Habs. Aren't you so sick of those two fan bases? You can't even go to your own team's game when they face the Leafs or the Habs, because tickets get so expensive and they try to overtake your stadium. No, you want to cheer for the city that's been kind to you this whole time. We're all brothers and sisters here. Be Ottawa Charge fans, okay? If you like the Jets or the Oilers or the Canucks or the Flames, you have a home here as an Ottawa Charge fan. And on Sunday, the lights are going to be bright in Edmonton. The takeover tour against Toronto. Home team. Technically not home ice advantage, but for the sake of argument, home ice advantage. And hopefully there will be more Charge fans in the building than Scepters fans. Hopefully that will be the case. And if that is the case, this would be the start of a 5-game homestand. I believe it's 5 games. I know that we've got at least 3 home games to close off February, like actual home games at TD Place. In 14 days, I believe. It's 5 games in 14 days. A lot of games in a short amount of time, which is good, because despite a win of this size, of this magnitude, we're still last place. Now, thankfully, we're in a 3-way tie for last place. And before we play our game, Boston, who has 2 games in hand, is going to play 2 games. And New York, who has a game in hand, is going to play 1 game. So, this is our 6th regulation win. Should those games all end as regulation losses for the teams that we'd want to lose, in this case Boston and New York, and they do not play each other in those 3 games, we could theoretically move back into a playoff spot. It is possible that going into the game against Toronto, we are in 4th. And if we aren't in 4th, it's possible that it's because Toronto lost a game and they're only 1 point ahead of us. And in as many games played. So this could be a fight for a playoff spot when we go to Edmonton. What team are we going to see? Are we going to see the team that struggles to get more than 1 goal in the net? Or are we going to see the team that scores 8? Because like I said, we don't need to score 8. It'd be nice, but we don't need it. But we at the very least need a team that's somewhere in the middle. So if we aren't going to score 8, at least don't score 1. Land somewhere in the middle. Get 3 or 4 goals. You get 3 or 4 goals, offense can say, yeah, we did our job. If we end up losing a game and we've scored 4 goals, I'll say, well, there's not much more the offense could have done. They scored 4 times. If we let in 5 goals, come on. We can't let that happen. So I hope that this was a monkey off the back exorcism that will lead to a second half of the season where we see the Ottawa Charge team that we know that they can be. Why have I been so mad in so many of my videos? Because I know what this team is capable of. I knew that, if everything clicked, if this team had just everything come together, they could score 8 goals in a game. They did. They just did. They just proved all of us right. That at their best, this team isn't just good. This team is scary good. The way we played tonight, if this was a playoff game against any team in the league, we would have won. Yes, that includes Montreal. If the team that showed up tonight were to show up game 1 in Montreal, we would have a 1-0 series lead. But I've seen other nights, the game before the international break, exact opposite. Where there was no team in the league that we would beat with some of our previous performances. Let's try and break down this game. I'm going to have to go quick because there's so many times I'm going to stop to say, Ottawa goal. The first period was very weird because I felt like at the start of the first, we were getting completely outplayed. And then at the end of the first, we started to get back into it. But the score reflected the exact opposite. The game starts early on. Minnesota has all the momentum. We are hemmed in our own end. Lots of bad turnovers, and that is an Ottawa classic, right? Bad turnovers in our own end. They thankfully aren't resulting in any goals, but, I'm like, I can see where this story's going. But then we get to their end, and our first shot on goal, it is a goal. McMahon scores to make it 1-0. Man and McMahon, and oh man, what a goal. 1-0. Okay, we're feeling pretty happy. So of course, since we're feeling pretty happy, we need to take a penalty to temper things down. Of course. I want to say I called it because before this penalty, I was like, get a jailbreak. Maybe half jokingly, because we've taken the most penalized team in the league and no jailbreak goals. And of course, how does this penalty end? With a goal. A goal to end the penalty early. Because Gabby Hughes gets a breakaway, and somebody better call AC/DC, because we got a jailbreak in Ottawa. Goal 2-0 Ottawa. This team scored a jailbreak goal. The power play was actually looking pretty deadly for Minnesota. They were getting chances. Power play's over. We just scored. In your face, Montreal. But despite the 2-goal lead, we're still getting outplayed. And eventually, the biggest heel in the league, Britta Curl, oh my gosh. I will say, bad for the game, bad for the league, but good in one aspect, which is, it's nice that there's just a super hateable player. There's just that one player that nobody likes, and you can genuinely just, every time Curl touched the puck, it was like, boo! You could hear. If you don't believe me, go back. If you're in America, I think you can still watch it on the US, on YouTube. if you've recorded the game, and I'm sure there's going to be clips online, look at how every time she touched the puck, she was booed. She scored the first goal for Minnesota. The boos came raining down. Obviously, I'm not a fan of Britta Curl. On and off the ice. I think that's the thing. It's not just the off the ice stuff that irks me, but like dirty player. Just completely unlikable player. The type of player where if Ottawa were to trade for her, I would not be happy. Like there have been other trades where like we lost a fan favorite player and like it hurts and you're like, okay, who did we get in? But I'm always like, welcome to Ottawa. I think I've said welcome to Ottawa in just about every single trade. You know, even with the players that I miss, you know, yeah, I was a big fan of Savannah Harmon, but I'm happy to have our new players. I'm happy that LaRocque is an Ottawa Charge. Victoria Bach, I mean, she's been paying us dividends. Dark Angelo, you know, last season kind of rocky. This season, I'm so glad she's on the team. All those players, I'm happy to have them. If Britta Crow were to be on the team, I would probably call for the GM's head, honestly. I'd probably say like, wow, okay, well, we got to fire the GM. Like, I don't like her. I don't want her on the team. I don't think anyway. I think we made it extremely clear. We don't like her. Ottawa doesn't like Britta Curl. And she got very, extremely, heavily booed. And while I think she's dirty and does not represent the league well, and that in that sense it's bad for the league, I think it's good for the league in the sense of we have that player that you just can't stand. I think it will certainly add to a bit more of like an element of rivalry. Like every time Minnesota comes to town, the boos are going to get extra loud. We're going to be a lot more like, oh, we want to be like, I am so like of all the teams to do this to know that Britta Curl had to stand there and watch 8 goals against. Oh, yes. That is like a level of schadenfreude that you don't get often in the PWHL. Because you don't get it often in most sports leagues. This is like a very rare, very special kind of schadenfreude where for most of the players on Minnesota, like I'm happy that Ottawa won, but I know for a lot of them, it's going to be a long bus ride home. It's going to be a real quiet locker room. You feel a little bit bad. There are quite a few likable players on that team. Some players where I'm like, if they played for Ottawa, I'd be happy to have them. You feel a little twinge of sadness in your heart that you know they went into the locker room just completely deflated. You know, you feel a little bit bad that the goalie had to get pulled because of poor performance, and you feel a little bit bad that the goaltender that replaced her didn't do much better. But with Britta Curl, there's no twinge of sadness. It's all smiles here. So yeah, good to have a heel, but bad why she's a heel. And she scores. And the boos were extremely loud. She's not liked, and I think she knows that. And then as we're starting to play well and start to apply our own pressure, I'm like, okay, now we're getting into the game. They tie it up. We give up a goal. It's 2-2. And like I said, very weird period. I felt like we were out of it, but we were up 2-0, and then we got back into it, but we blew a 2-goal lead. But I was happy. I was like, okay, you know what? It's 2-2. Very rare for us to have a 2-goal period. Just stay with that. I was thinking, like, if we can get 2 more goals this game, we're good. That'd be our new record. I had no idea. So, second period starts, a bit more back and forth. A few missed chances, but we're applying good pressure, and then a shot gets through the legs. Nicole Hensley gets right through the legs, but not over the line just yet. But we just keep going at it. We actually stay on the play. Gabby Hughes knocks it in. It is a goal. 3-2. Ottawa Charge lead, and that's the kind of dirty, mucky, garbage goal that we need to score. We need to score goals like that. We scored all kinds of goals this game. We had jailbreaks, 5-on-5s, rebounds, one time, every kind of goal you can imagine, and that's what we need. A goal like this is the kind of goal where all season last season, all season this season, you see that happen. You see it go through their legs. The puck is still alive. It's just standing there waiting for someone to knock it in, and it gets pushed out of harm's way. But this time was different. Back of the net. And this is the start of just the dismantling. From this point forward, if you're a Minnesota fan, I am sorry. Turn the game. If you're a Minnesota fan watching this game, this is where I put the warning. There is nothing for you from here. Nothing. It just gets worse. And for the rest of us, for us long-suffering Charge fans, I really recommend you get your ears into their listening positions, because you're going to like this. So, yet again, we immediately take another body-checking penalty. I thought some of the penalties this game weren't great, but again, we immediately score a goal, immediately take a penalty. This time, killed off without incident from either team. Nobody scores, which is an improvement for Minnesota. And then, right as the penalty ends, there are offsetting minors. Again, I think maybe Minnesota could have gotten more, but I'm not really complaining. Offsetting minors, it's fine. And very quickly, we double the lead. Vanisova, 4-2 snipe. Oh, wow. I hope she has a good game. Wink, wink. An elite goal, an amazing goal. It is now 4-2. At this point, I'm celebrating. I'm like, we scored 4 goals in a game. And I'm like, 4 goals? Like, that's not completely insurmountable. But that's looking good. This period, we've looked a lot better than the first period. Okay. And at this point, Minnesota makes a goalie change. And I'm just sitting here like, we scored 4 goals in a game. We made another team. The Ottawa Charge made another team change goaltenders because of how often we were scoring. I'm going to be honest, I thought we might get one more from this point forward. But we continue to play well, and Minnesota might have a few chances. Like I said, we do better. And then Gabby Hughes with the shot, and who's there to clean up? And it wasn't like a garbage clean. It was a nice shot. It's Vanisova again who scores. It is 5-2. We have scored in one period alone 3 goals. Gabby Hughes on hat-trick watch. Teresa Vanisova on hat-trick watch. They both have 2 goals. Do you think we're done? No, not long after. Victoria Bach scores. It is 6-2. Ottawa, the period ends. And I mean the period, as in the greatest period in the history of this team. The Ottawa Charge, last season, this season, whenever, never have I felt that confident after a period, that good after a period. I don't think we've ever scored that many goals in a period. A 4-goal period is extremely rare in any league, except maybe when Canada plays like, you know, a country where they win 20-1. This is one of those just all-time great moments. And at 6-2, I was thinking, just go into the third and kill it off. Just 20 minutes. Just get the 20 minutes over with. Enjoy your free 6-2 win. And hey, if Gabby Hughes or Teresa Vanisova can score one, that'd be nice. But really, like, who cares? We start the third. We're looking great. We are limiting their chances, which is the best part. About halfway, a little before the halfway mark of the period, about 9 minutes have elapsed at this point, a little over that. Minnesota takes a penalty. Now, it would be easy to say, okay, great, just keep this on autopilot. We'd been controlling play, and we weren't like overloading them with shots, but you know what we were doing? We were killing time. That's all we needed to do, really. Nah, another goal. The captain Brianne Jenner to make it 7-2. You know what I thought at that point? I was like, I'm really happy, but like, it is too bad. Because at 7-2, like, come on, we aren't going to get the hat trick now. Like, we've used all our goals. You know, it is what it is. 7-2. Like, I'm happy with. Vanisova taps one in. There go the Hats. 8-2 hat trick goal. This team scored a hat trick, and we had another player who had 2 goals, and we had 5 players that scored a goal. And then what do? We take a penalty with 6 minutes left. Does nothing. Minnesota gets nothing. And then they get a late goal. 2 minutes and 12 seconds left. A garbage goal. A meaningless goal to make the score look better than it was. And it's still a terrible score of 8-3. Most goals scored in league history. Tied for the biggest win in league history. Tied for the biggest lead in league history. The most dominant offensive performance ever. What more can be said? I'm happy, but I'll be unhappy if this was a one-off. And then we go back to scoring 1 goal. But I got a belief. I've got a belief that we needed that break to just mentally reset, and we're going to go in to the second half of this season. We might not score 8 goals every game, but we will score 3 goals more often than not. I think that's what we need. And that we will crack the 4-goal margin a few times, not just once. Take this momentum, use it for the rest of the season, and definitely for the rest of the month. Big month ahead of us. This is game 1 of 5 of February, where we can make up a lot of ground. We were chanting, we want 10. Can you believe that? We were chanting, we want 10. That's how many goals we scored. What more can be said? No notes. No notes. Bring it next game. And as always, go, Ottawa, go.